What if the greatest power shaping our world isn't wielded through headlines, decrees, or televised debates? What if instead it was a silent, ancient principle that organizes reality long before a single word is spoken? There is a technology of influence so fundamental that it operates beneath the floorboards of our perceived reality. It is not new. It is not political. It is hermetic. And perhaps the fear isn't that you will discover it, but that you will remember you already know how to use it. There is a reason your spirit feels a certain static in the air, a low hum of discord that never fades, no matter how much you try to ignore it. You were taught to see conflict as something external, something to be analyzed, feared, or a side to be taken. This is the first layer of the veil, the most visible one, designed to keep your attention on the surface. But something within you, a wisdom that resides deeper than bone, knows there is more. It knows that the drama unfolding on the world's stage is merely a reflection of a much deeper undercurrent. That silent fear you feel behind the modern headlines is not a flaw in your system. It is a sign that your soul is attuned. This is why prophecies of war, both ancient and new, magnetize the collective unconscious so powerfully. They touch upon a memory, a pattern that already lives within us. This is not the first time humanity has stood on this threshold. The emerald tablets of Thoth, the great master of wisdom, contained a veiled warning about these exact shadow cycles, which always return when humanity forgets to live in harmony with the cosmic laws. What we are experiencing is not new. It is merely an echo repeating itself. The great mystic thinker, Manly P. Hall, saw war not as a simple political event, but as a great initiatory drama, a stage where the hidden archetypes of our psyche, the tyrant, the savior, the victim, the hero, are brought into the light to be seen, to test the strength of the alchemist within each of us. In this sense, the Hermetic law of polarity offers us a golden key. It teaches us that the opposites we see on the battlefield, good and evil, right and wrong, are in fact the two extremes of the same thing. They reveal a single, unresolved frequency within human consciousness. And the question that pulses in the silence of your being, the question that brought you here is this: can deciphering these ancient symbols finally restore our inner sovereignty amidst all this external chaos? Something in you already knows the answer. That feeling that tightens in your chest when the world's news feels like an avalanche of chaos. That is a real and profound ache. It is the ache of powerlessness, the silent anxiety that whispers that your personal choices, your acts of kindness, your own journey are useless against the gigantic geopolitical forces that move the world. You feel as if your energy is just a single drop in an ocean of conflict, and this feeling drains you, paralyzes you. It is a pain that cannot be expressed in words because the world outside lacks the language to understand it. But it is real, and it has a purpose. To understand this purpose, we need to look at a concept that has been distorted over time: the Akashic records. Imagine the Akasha not as a library of ancient books, but as a vast holographic field, a neutral mirror that reflects absolutely everything. This field does not judge. It only records and amplifies the energy that is emitted into it. And the strongest emotion, the mass emotion that feeds this field the most today, is fear. Collective fear becomes a dense fog in the Akasha, distorting the reality we all experience. Herein lies a truth that your intuition has already suspected, but that your logical mind may resist. The counterintuitive truth is that suppressing your fear, swallowing it, pretending it isn't there, actually makes it louder, more strident in the energetic field. When you deny what you feel, the energy of that emotion doesn't disappear. It simply becomes a phantom frequency, a static that runs beneath everything you do. And that static joins the static of millions of others, creating the cacophony we feel as global anxiety. To express fear consciously, to look it in the eye without judgment, is what silences it. Think of it like a precious old vinyl record. Every strong emotion you feel but refuse to process, every fear you swallow, every pain you invalidate, is like the tip of a needle scratching the record's surface. That scratch creates a loop, and the cosmic DJ, the universe in its infinite wisdom, will continue to play that scratched part of the song over and over again, not to punish you, but to invite you to notice the scratch. It will repeat the pattern, the cycle, the pain, until you finally decide, with love and awareness, to lift the needle. The invitation, then, is not to fight the music, but to find a way to heal the record. You can begin this healing process in a very simple way, a 7-minute energy scan. It's not about meditating perfectly or achieving enlightenment. It's simply about giving yourself permission to feel. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and just breathe. Feel the pulse of your body, your somatic pulse, the rhythm of life within you. And then, in a whisper or just in your mind, speak consciously to your fear. I see you. I feel you. You are allowed to be here. In doing this, you are not surrendering to fear. You are rewriting your vibrational imprint in the Akasha. You are lifting the needle from the record. You are beginning to silence your own static. And when you do that, you silence a little piece of the world's. The paralysis you feel, that spiritual block that arises when you witness war, is born from a fundamental belief that chaos is random. When we believe that events are accidental, we become spiritually powerless, unable to translate what we see into wisdom. We are trapped, watching a game whose rules seem not to exist. But the ancients whisper a different truth. They tell us that nothing is random, absolutely nothing. There is a law operating beneath the surface, a law as precise as gravity. In ancient scriptures, especially in the 9th tablet of Thoth, we find an obscure, rarely discussed principle called homological magnetism. This principle states something shocking and transformative. Events do not happen by chance. They converge where thoughts cluster. Like iron filings drawn to an invisible magnet, the world's events are drawn to the great pockets of collective consciousness, fear, and intention. The external world, with all its drama, is a mirror of our aggregate thought field. This is a difficult truth to face, but it is also the key to our liberation. Here lies the great revelation, the truth that can change how you interact with reality forever. Ending an external conflict, whether it is global or personal, does not begin with political consensus, with a signed treaty, or with one side's victory over the other. It begins with an internal vibrational unanchoring. It begins when a sufficient number of individuals consciously decide to stop feeding the conflict with their own energy. When you withdraw your resonance from fear, anger, and division, you remove a foundational brick from the structure of war. The ancients practiced this through rituals. One of them involved a triadic chant at sunrise, a time when the veil between worlds is thinnest. It was not a chant of words, but of frequencies. The mind was aligned with the principle of mentalism. All is mind. The body with the law of vibration. Nothing rests. And the spirit with the understanding of polarity. Everything has its opposite. It was a practice to disperse the psychic condensations, the fog of fear that accumulates during the night, before it could solidify into the dawning day. Consider the powerful analogy of the tuning fork. Conflict is like a tuning fork, vibrating at a specific frequency. For its sound to propagate and recruit other metals to vibrate along with it, it needs a base, a support. We, with our focus, our fear, and our indignation, are that base. When you practice vibrational unanchoring, you are symbolically detaching the base of that tuning fork. Without your energetic support, without your resonance, the tone of conflict weakens. It can no longer recruit sympathetic metal to its cause. You are not ignoring the problem. You are removing its fundamental cause on a quantum level. You are becoming the peace you wish to see in the world, not as a concept, but as a frequency. There is a subtle blockage that most of us feel, but cannot name. It is a kind of mental fog. The information overload of the modern world, the endless stream of opinions, news, and images, doesn't just tire your mind. It dulls your center of spiritual perception, your ajna, your third eye. Discernment, which is the ability to feel truth, becomes confused with data saturation. And so, instead of seeing clearly, we feel lost in a smoke of conflicting information, unable to distinguish the signal from the noise. What modern science is only beginning to rediscover, ancient wisdom already knew. Inside your pineal gland, at the center of your brain, there are minuscule calcite crystals. This is not vague esoteric information. It is a biological reality. These crystals function as biological piezoelectrics, which means they have the ability to convert the invisible vibrations around you, the frequencies of thoughts, emotions, and intentions, into electrical impulses that your brain can interpret. You have a biological antenna for the subtle, a divine hardware waiting to be activated. Here, we are faced with a complete inversion of modern logic. We believe that to see more, we need more light, more information. But the spiritual truth is the exact opposite. Inner vision is sharpened by less external stimulus, not more. To see the light of the soul, one must first turn off the artificial lights of the world. A digital fast, even for a short period, acts as a powerful, vibrational purifier. It's not about depriving yourself of information. It's about creating the necessary silence so that your own wisdom can finally speak. Imagine allowing yourself a sacred retreat, a dark silence of 72 hours, 3 days without the bombardment of war news, without the static of social media. And each night, within that silence, sitting in complete darkness for 20 minutes. Not to force a vision, but to allow your eyes to adjust to the outer darkness, so that the inner light can finally reveal itself. At first, there is only the dark. But over time, something begins to happen in the field of your inner vision. This is not just a mystical fantasy. There is a fascinating historical precedent for this phenomenon. Pilots during World War II, after spending long hours flying in total darkness, began to report seeing luminous orbs and points of light that weren't there. These were the so-called Butzinger's lights, a neurological manifestation of the third eye's ability to generate its own light when external stimulus is removed. They were, unknowingly, activating an ancient human capacity, the capacity to see beyond the smoke of conflict, to see with the eyes of the spirit. That capacity did not belong only to them. It also lives dormant inside of you. In the midst of uncertainty, there is a subtle pain we often mistake for strength. It is the ego's need to find safety by choosing a side. In a world that seems to be splitting apart, planting our flag in a moral territory, I am right, they are wrong, gives us a temporary feeling of solidity, of ground beneath our feet. The ego, in its quest for survival, confuses this rigid polarity with true spiritual principle. It sells us the illusion that righteousness lies in choosing a pole, without telling us that both poles belong to the same magnet. The Hermetic wisdom contained in the Kybalion offers us a radically different perspective through the concept of the ladder of oscillation. This principle teaches us that the extremes we perceive in the world, love and hate, courage and fear, peace and war, are not opposite and irreconcilable things. They are, in fact, two different degrees of the same thing, sharing a single axis that the untrained mind completely ignores. Hate is not the opposite of love. It is merely love at such a low vibrational frequency that it has become unrecognizable. War is not the opposite of peace. It is the absence of peace taken to its most painful extreme. And here is a truth that may be shocking to the ego, but liberating for the soul. Many of our most fervent moral certainties are not purely spiritual or ethical. They are, in fact, hormonal loops. When we are under the stress of conflict, our body releases cortisol. By choosing a side and feeling justified, we receive a small reward of dopamine. This combination of cortisol and dopamine creates an addictive biochemical cocktail that perfectly mimics the feeling of ethical conviction. We feel alive, engaged, certain. But in reality, we are just responding to a chemical cycle within us, a cycle that keeps us trapped in oscillation, jumping from one pole to the other. To transcend this cycle, the alchemists practiced a technique of great power, known as the mercurial reversal. It is not about agreeing with the enemy, but about having the courage to understand their vibration. The invitation is this: for a moment in silence, state the opposing side's argument to yourself, and then, more importantly, locate the emotional equivalent of that argument in your own body. Where do you feel their pain? Where do you feel their fear? Where do you feel their anger? In doing this, you discover that the fundamental emotions are the same. Only the stories we tell about them are different. This leads us to the final and simplest symbol of all, the two-sided coin. You can spend a lifetime arguing which side is more beautiful, which is more valuable, but in the end it doesn't matter which face you kiss, which side you choose. The same metal touches your lips. The truth is not in choosing one face over the other, but in having the wisdom to hold the entire coin in the palm of your hand and recognize that it is one. There is an even deeper pain, a latent ache that lives beneath the surface of your consciousness. It is that strange, inexplicable feeling of déjà vu that sends a shiver down your spine when you watch the news. An unsettling feeling that you've seen this film before, that today's war is not an isolated event, but the painful repetition of ancient cataclysms that your soul has not forgotten. It is not your imagination. It is your cellular and spiritual memory awakening. It is the recognition of a pattern that is engraved not only in human history, but in the earth itself. Esoteric cartography, a knowledge guarded by ancient traditions, shows us a different map of the world, not a map of political borders, but of energetic currents. Manly P. Hall's map of the Serpent Current, for example, reveals that the great planetary lines of force intersect at nodal points of immense power and sensitivity, and one of the most potent intersections, a true vortex of karmic memory, is located precisely in Jerusalem. Conflicts do not happen in random places. They are drawn to the energetic scars of the planet. Here, we arrive at a revelation that expands our understanding of what memory is. Trauma, especially the collective trauma of great cataclysms, is not just inscribed in our genes or our psyche. It is engraved in the planet's geomagnetic signature. The rocks, the mountains, the crystals beneath the Earth's surface function as immense planetary flash drives, holding the vibrational record of everything that has ever happened. Every war, every cry, every act of peace leaves a lasting impression on the body of our Mother Earth. Therefore, the path to healing these ancestral traumas involves a physical and energetic reconnection with the planet itself. One of the most profound practices for this is conscious grounding. It is the act of standing barefoot on igneous rocks, rocks born from the fire within the earth, especially during the lunar apogee, when the moon's gravitational influence is at its farthest point and the Earth's energy is most stable. It is not just about touching the ground. It is about intentionally pulsing with the planet, feeling your own heartbeat, and gently aligning it with the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the Earth. It is an act of deep listening. In that silence, in that contact, the Earth's memory can flow through you, and your healing energy can flow into the Earth. It is a dialogue without words, and the powerful metaphor the ancients left us for this is that of Atlantis. The great island sank, but its geological faults, its wounds, became the energetic arteries of the New World. As we walk on these fault lines, on these sacred scars, we are not just walking on land, we are walking on memory. And by doing so with awareness, the Earth remembers its wholeness through us, and we remember ours through it. There is a hidden struggle that takes place inside you every day, a silent battle fought with every notification, every headline that flashes across your screen. It is the almost irresistible compulsion to refresh, to know what happened in the last minute, the last second. You may think this is just a modern habit, but it is much deeper. It is a drain of life force that feeds a profound psychic fatigue, a soul exhaustion that leaves you with no strength to connect with what truly matters. Neuroscience gives us a clue as to why this struggle is so intense. Our brain is wired to release dopamine, the reward hormone, when we anticipate something. And what scientists have discovered is that intermittent and unpredictable rewards, like a phone notification or the next post in a social media feed, raise dopamine levels far more aggressively than consistent, predictable rewards. The system is designed to keep you hooked on waiting, on the anticipation of the next hit of information, whether good or bad. You are not seeking information. You are trapped in a chemical search cycle. The countermeasure to this chemical hijacking is not willpower, but wisdom. It is the creation of intentional dopamine zero windows. Imagine giving yourself the gift of 90 minutes of sensory monotony at sunrise. 90 minutes with no screens, no music, no news, no stimuli. Just you and the simplicity of the world waking up. The sound of your own thoughts settling, the rhythm of your own breath. It's not about emptying your mind, but about allowing it to stop frantically searching outside of itself. The effect of this practice is profound and transformative. By creating these pockets of chemical silence, your neurological baseline begins to reset. Your nervous system, which was operating in a constant state of high alert and anticipation, finally has a chance to return to its natural state of calm and presence. And it is in this silence, on this new baseline, that the magic happens. The subtle voice of your true intuition, which was once drowned out by the dopamine-induced noise, can now finally emerge. You begin to hear the whispers of your soul again. Think of an old radio trying to tune into a distant station. If there's too much electrical interference around, all you hear is static. But if you temporarily shut off the power source causing the interference, the static clears. The silence that follows is not an absence. It is an act of recalibration. It is what clears the field, so that when the power is restored, the true signal can be received with crystal clarity. This silence is your act of turning off the interference, so that you can hear your own transmission. When we look at human history, we feel the weight of a great, collective wound. A profound sense that the world's karma is spinning without lubrication, repeating the same patterns of pain, generation after generation. It is a weariness of the soul, the exhaustion of seeing the same story, told with different faces and different flags. We feel that we are stuck on this wheel, and that feeling in itself is one of the greatest sources of our suffering. But in the heart of the occult teachings, Thoth left us a formula. Not a magic formula, but an equation for the authorship of destiny. The formula states that our reality is the sum of Ka, our life force, plus Esa, our conscious breath, plus the trace of record, the mark that our consciousness leaves on the world. Together, they form the glyph of the self-written destiny. This means that the wheel does not have to spin in the same place forever. With every conscious breath, with every intentional act of life, we have the power to rewrite our path. The path to lubricating the karmic wheel and transmuting war into wisdom involves a radical inversion of our usual process. We wait to understand, and then we forgive. We want our logical mind to comprehend the injustice, to analyze the pain, and only then, perhaps, grant forgiveness. Alchemy teaches us the opposite. Forgiveness comes before understanding. The intellect follows the energetic release, not the other way around. To forgive here does not mean to condone an act. It means to release your own energy from the anchor of that pain. It is an act of personal sovereignty. To anchor this energetic release, the ancients used rituals. One of these sacred rituals is that of the triple candle, performed over 9 nights. In the first phase, you light a lead or dark-colored candle to represent the weight of fear, pain, and trauma. You allow all this density to come to the surface without judgment. In the second phase, you light a silver candle for reflection. You observe these patterns with the neutrality of the moon, seeing how they have operated in your life and in the world. And in the third and final phase, you light a gold candle for synthesis. It is here that you integrate the lesson, that you transform the lead of pain into the gold of wisdom. This process leads us to the final archetype of this journey, the Ouroboros, the serpent that bites its own tail, ascending the serpent of Hermes' Caduceus, the serpent of pain, trauma, and conflict, is not killed or annihilated. It is the same serpent. But instead of being trapped in the repetitive cycle of biting its own tail on the ground, it begins its journey of ascension. It is the same energy, but now moving in a higher spiral, on a new level of consciousness. The war is not destroyed. Its energy is transmuted into wisdom. The poison becomes the antidote. This is the promise of alchemical reconciliation. And so, we arrive at the heart of the mystery, guided by the Hermetic law of vibration. Every war, like every thought, is a vibrating string seeking resolution, a sound that was struck in the past and that continues to echo in the present, searching to find its resting note, its harmony. The external battlefield is merely the auditorium, where this dissonant music becomes visible. The true instrument, however, is within you. This is the key lesson of our entire journey together. To change your personal frequency, to withdraw your energy from the cycle of fear and polarity, is not an escape from reality. It is the most profound way to face it. It is a micro act of geopolitical alchemy. It is the most important work that can be done. You are not ignoring the world. You are offering it a new possibility, a new frequency with which it can choose to resonate. The invitation now is not for you to believe any of this. It is for you to experience it. This week, apply just one of the practices that resonated with your soul. And most importantly, register the physiological changes within you before you look for any external proof. Feel the shift in your breath, in the quality of your silence, in the way the world seems to sound to you. The proof you seek is not in tomorrow's headlines. It is in the rhythm of your own heart. Visualize now for just an instant the final image the ancients left for us. The stylus of Thoth, the pen of the divine scribe, hovering over the great cosmic book of human history. The page is open to today. The stylus does not have to carve the same scar again, the same recycled pattern of pain. It is waiting for a new signature, your signature. A signature written with the ink of consciousness. You are the key, you always were. If this journey has resonated in your spirit, leave a silent acknowledgement in the comments, an affirmation not for the world, but for your own soul. To continue on this journey of remembrance and awakening, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and to like this video. And remember, it's not about what you want, but who you are.